In prior episodes, we covered resilience, what it looks like at work, and how to develop it. We'll put links to those episodes in the notes below in case you need them. In fact, definitely pause now and go check them out if you're new to the concept of resilience. It will be more helpful if you have watched those two episodes before this one. Today, we are going to go further into the emotional side of things, looking at fear and confidence and discussing apathy and anxiety and what action can do for you when it comes to being resilient. Welcome to this mini but mighty leadership lesson. Every week, we publish a brief but impactful lesson to help you level up personally and professionally. We believe that every single one of us has a leader inside, and it's up to us to start with ourselves. Start with yourself, and then lead others. Confidence. We have several other mini but mighty episodes that talk about confidence and bravery, and those also are linked in the notes below. Building confidence across all areas of our life is essential to our resilience. When you feel incapable or you're lacking confidence, it really can tear down some of your energy and your ability to bounce back. Confidence is a critical message to yourself and the people around you. You want people to believe in and trust you. But even if you've been the most confident person in many areas of your life, all of us tend to falter or see our confidence suffer. When everything is new to us, it can be hard to feel and maintain confidence. When things aren't going well, you're really going through some tough times, confidence can also falter. And when we're uncertain and afraid, our confidence tends to falter. When you're feeling incapable or you have low confidence about things, it creeps in and kind of wears down your capacity to bounce back. Recognizing that in those situations, your confidence may falter and you may need to shore it up. There are specific techniques and things that you can do to build and grow your confidence. You can watch the other episodes I mentioned. Also, check out Boss at the Helm's top 10 confidence builders. And remember, you build confidence by taking action, even small actions, and especially when you're afraid to take action. You don't wait for things to be perfectly aligned. You teach yourself that you can do it. You learn from it and you practice and you get better. One of the things that holds us back in life is fear. And I strongly believe we have to do something about recognizing, naming, and making real decisions about fear in our lives. For many years, I didn't realize how much fear I held. I developed a very tough exterior and a push through anything kind of attitude. And if I couldn't push through it, if I didn't think I'd be able to make it, I would just avoid it at all costs. For example, I took off to Europe backpacking in my early 20s, and a lot of people thought that was insane. But to me, it was just like I'll just learn and figure it out as I go. We'll push through, it'll be fine. And it was mostly. But the other side of that, complete avoidance, is another way that I used to approach my fears. So, for example, for years, I didn't want anything to do with large groups of people, big meetings and social settings. I wasn't sure how I fit in. And so I would avoid them. Both of those, pushing past fear as well as avoiding fear, are things that I did in a lot of areas in my life. I thought that's just how you did things. I didn't realize that I had adopted these techniques because that is what I had been taught, what had been modeled for me. But as I got older, I began to feel more afraid. I would get more anxious, and the effects of anxiety would last longer. And I decided that wasn't how I wanted to live. I didn't want to be more afraid of more things. So Tim Ferriss's fear setting was a fundamental tool for me. We'll cover the specifics of that in a moment, but what I really want you to take away from this is understanding what you're afraid of or where you're holding yourself back, and then figuring out what are the tools and techniques that help you address and mitigate and handle fear or fearful situations. Some of you would say, oh, well, I put it in God's hands. I pray or I ask the universe to take on the burden and help show me the way. Others of you might do things like name the fear so that you understand it and you reduce its control and impact on you. Or expose yourself to the fear. You're deeply afraid of spiders, so maybe you spend more time with spiders, talking it out, going to professional therapy, visualizing, meditating, breath work, hypnosis, all popular ways to help us deal with fear. Exercising and physical movement are popular, or doing it anyway and seeing the results are maybe not as bad as you anticipated. There are lots of different ways to approach fear. For me, I needed a logic-based approach. I'm very left-brained. So the practical approach that would allow my mind to quiet down so I could recognize and then make choices about how to move forward in a fearful situation, that was important to me. And that's where Tim Ferriss's fear setting exercise felt good. It really helped me. It may or may not help you. I encourage you to take a look at it, but also just begin spending some time noticing what your fears are, where you're holding back, and what are the ways that help you handle them so that you're not living in a fearful state and letting the fear override your ability to live joyfully and resiliently each day. So, fear setting. Google Tim Ferriss fear setting or go to Tim's blog. You will find this. I'll cover it in a very summary level. So, you're establishing a practice where you observe your negative thoughts, your feelings, the things that you are fearful about. You look at where you hold yourself back from things, where you don't engage, you don't go to certain places, you don't hang out with certain folks, and you decide, is that because I'm afraid? Is that because I'm shy? Is it because I'm uncomfortable? If this doesn't come naturally, if this doesn't immediately pop up ideas to your mind, you can try filling in the blanks to statements like, I don't think I can. I'd never be good at. They'd laugh at me if I. And maybe that helps you start to come up with situations because sometimes we've been doing this for so long, holding ourselves back or not engaging in situations for so long, we don't even remember that it's because we were afraid. Once you've established what some of those fears are, you so what it. Each of those items you're going to go through and say, so what is the worst thing that could happen to me? On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is nothing could happen and 10 is permanently life altering, you rate each one of them. You consider that and you say, okay, is that as bad as I thought? Oftentimes you'll find that it isn't. Is there anything that I could do to mitigate or lessen or avoid that impact? And you'll write out some of those items as well. What happens is you begin to look at this list of fears and you say, oh, you know what? I probably could do something a little different. Or maybe I could take a friend with me to that next big event and then I won't be so afraid of going in and meeting new people. Whatever your fears are, you will look at it and say, it's not as bad as I thought. So confidence and fears and our ability to understand what we're afraid of, as well as choose and manage those fears. They are important to resilience. They really feed into this research that I came across, which is so fascinating. How we feel during uncertainty, overwhelm, fear, nonstop stress situations, emotions can impact how we respond or react, and they are rooted in our brains, in how our brain processes change and threat status. There are these geniuses who researched and published a paper called Distinct Computational Mechanisms of Uncertainty Processing Explain Opposing Exploratory Behaviors in Anxiety and Apathy. It's a mouthful, but it boils down to this. Life presents unexpected challenges, and how individuals interpret undesirable outcomes in uncertain environments shapes their actions. We can make this easier. We'll get to it. But decision making in an uncertain environment can lead to varied outcomes. How we process those outcomes may depend on our emotions. It's essentially this. Our emotions are impacting whether we make decisions or whether we swirl, or do nothing. Right? Emotions. And so being able to emotionally regulate, being aware that we have a limbic system in our brain that is trying its darndest to protect us. Those are important constructs to helping us take action and be resilient. Threat states. Remember stress responses to perceived threats: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. It's that amygdala hijack. The limbic brain is jumping into our defense to make sure we remain safe. It's constantly scanning and trying to look for perceived threats, and sometimes it jumps the gun. We say things we don't mean to say, or we react instead of respond. Maybe we get really angry and we yell at somebody, or we default to people pleasing, or we freeze in the moment. And later we're so mad at ourselves because we're like, why did I just stand there? Why did I take that? Or we make ourselves really small. And some of us just leave. Those are all stress responses. It's when an intense threat is perceived and our emotional and automatic responses take over. This limbic system is trying to help us, right? But what we also know is that in persistent states of stress, when we are really exposed to a lot of stress and change and discomfort, we condition that limbic system to react. And so being able to retrain your limbic system and identify that not everything is a threat or that particular threat should not be reacted to in this way, those are things that you actually have control over. There are techniques to help you retrain your limbic system. In the case of resilience, those really smart people over at Driven who are focused on resilience and well-being say that there are basically two opportunities from this sort of response. One is proactive and the other is reactive, and we need both of them. So proactively, we can reduce reactivity of the limbic brain, and that means being introspective, really thinking about and challenging unhelpful beliefs, limiting beliefs, things that we were taught that maybe are no longer true, investing in our own personal growth, like you're doing right now by watching this episode, and creating an environment where future concerns are acknowledged and managed, but we're able to be present and we develop our confidence and we regulate our emotions. Many of the things that we talked about in the last episode that are practical tips to resilience also help you in regulating your limbic system, like mindfulness and meditation, breath work, regular exercise, quality sleep, somatic activities, grounding techniques. Many of those things also have the benefit of helping you with regulating limbic system. And then the other one is reactively. In moments where something triggers a sense of threat, we can pause and respond instead of reacting, right? So train yourself to pause, often take a breath, and think about how you want to respond. So explore the options that you have and then take constructive action. If you recall in the last episode, I was talking about how I found myself in this swirling situation. And one of the things that I was able to do was pause and notice my feelings, but then also look at my options. What are the options, even using AI to figure out what some of those options were and make a list, a prioritized list of steps that I could take. Those are actions that I could take. This is what we're looking to do. And we have to practice both of these in order to be more resilient. So this research paper that I mentioned is really looking at if you think that life is random, that all these changes and surprises are random, then you will tend to lean towards apathy as a response. And apathy means disengaging, throwing up your hands and saying, why bother? What does it matter? There's nothing I can do about it anyway. We don't want apathy in life or at work. The other perspective is if you think that life is volatile, that it just has ups and downs that are part of life, then you will tend towards anxiety. But anxiety doesn't have to be off the charts. Yes, you can get to that complete swirl of inaction and inability to make decisions. We don't want to get to that state. What we want to do instead is to acknowledge our emotions and then look at options, right? Consider what's going on, downregulate the limbic brain response, and shift towards reasoning. Look at what are some of my options? Can I use logic or creativity or problem solving? And can I then choose small actions to take? Those things actually help you move forward with resilience. As you do this, you build confidence. There's that word again. We build confidence in our ability to face and handle challenges. And so when something comes up, we build resilience and we're able more easily to avoid the extremes of anxiety and apathy and to pause and say, okay, what are my options? What can I do? You start to teach yourself and you learn some techniques that help you face the volatility, the change, the surprising circumstances. You can engage and even sometimes embrace it. So we have less swings between them. Instead, we bring self-awareness and we cultivate resilience. We can step in and engage in these situations without being completely knocked sideways. Resilience helps us balance. So we know that things are going to be uncertain. We know there's going to be surprises, but we also teach ourselves that we can choose and shape outcomes. We can direct our energy and our attention. We can take actions instead of being stuck or scared or running in the wrong direction. So there we have it. 3 lessons on resilience. What is it? What does it look like at work? How can you build it? And what are some additional considerations about confidence and fear and emotions that will help you make choices and build your reserves so that you can live a resilient life? Join us here next Friday for another Mini But Mighty leadership lesson. In the meantime, start with yourself. Lead yourself and then lead others. Be a boss. By the way, now is a great time to tap like and subscribe to this channel. Turn on your notifications so you'll be alerted every week when a new episode comes out. We'll see you next week.